Okay, here we are. Sound on, vision on. Okay, so it's the 12th of February. Sorry about no recording yesterday, but I've got some actual interesting content for you. I was waiting for a friend of mine to pop over with hopefully the audio's okay, with a new acquisition, and I managed to get a really good mates rates deal for a Canon EOS M, which is a mirrorless camera. So it's like a DSLR, but it's like if you imagine a cross between a point and shoot digital camera, like a standard pocket size one, rather than a video camera, and with interchangeable lenses. So as always, the camera manufacturer has decided to go with a completely new lens format, despite the fact that the sensor on the EOS M is the Digic 5 micro 4/3 sensor, which Canon used or set up on the T3i, which is the other single lens DSLR camera that I've got. So if you can imagine a much more compact version of my big camera that also allows you to use Magic Lantern, which I've gone on about before on Rangers. Magic Lantern, for those of you who don't know, is a piece of firmware update that gives a whole bunch more connectivity, a whole bunch more options. You can set up all sorts of cool things, like you can tell it to tell you on screen when something's got a problem with the focus or it's too bright, so you can have brightness peaking and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, so this might well be a short video because for some reason I've got the rubbish battery in my camera and I really need to do a search for the better action camera battery, and it's really pissing down. So this might be a much shorter video. This might only be a 10-minute video today, and I might even combine the footage from the EOS M, because we're down to a quarter of a battery, which isn't good. So I don't know how long we'll continue to record. So it might switch round to fairly rubbish sound, and I'll be shooting with the EOS M. But I've got some interesting things to show you, because I've had a bit of a make do and mend day, and yeah, make do and mend is a good thing. So I've charged the battery on the EOS M and amusingly neglected to charge the batteries for the action camera, because I thought the battery was charged because it was plugged in for many hours in a charge cycle. All action camera batteries are not created equal, so I'm going to have to do another big old search for various bits and bobs, specifically action camera batteries. And one should never ever leave the house without a whole bunch of batteries for whatever camera you're using. So yeah, back to the EOS M. It's a lovely compact camera, and yeah, so it should mean that I've got a much more portable solution, as well as a fairly groovy B-roll camera. So what it doesn't have is fairly interesting. What it does have an HDMI out, has a USB out and stroke in. I got the EOS M for 100 quid, including a very cool little lens by a company called 7 Artisans. So it's got a 25mm 1.8f lens, which means that it lets in a lot of light. And one of the things that's haunted me with the T3i is I only had lenses that let in about half as much light. So as soon as the light started to go at the focal distance, which is the f, the lower that is, the wider the aperture on the camera is. So going from an f3.5 kit lens, which was the main lens I was using, which is the lens you usually get with it, a very plasticky lens, I've gone down to an interesting fitment with a lens that's smaller and lets in more light, and it's sort of kind of crisper. And if you set the focal distance right for picture taking, it gives you a rather nice brighter image without the noise. And then you've got the incoming light aperture of where you've got the ISO, but if you turn that up too high you get a very grainy image. So with a lower f-stop and a wider aperture, you get more light in for a lower ISO rating, which means that you get a brighter, less noisy picture in low light. So that was a bit of a go on. The other thing I did today, I did a few little repairs on clothing. So I was sitting there sewing for a little while, including my hat that I'm wearing. So let's have a look. So yeah, I repaired my hat that I'm wearing right now, because the seam of the internal part started to massively come away from the external part, so it was falling apart a bit, so give it a bit of a sew. So I feel good about that. And I found some things. I had to locate a whole bunch of camera bits, and I wish I'd charged the battery on this camera. But yeah, so I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to set up the little camera so you can see what I did to it. Okay, so here is the Canon EOS M, and you'll notice that there's a little monitor above it. And what I did today is I made the monitor, which is pretty cool. And that's just a little DIY FPV goggle kit. And yeah, so that plugs into a little battery. We'll go around the back of it. So you've got a little a little goggles battery there, and a little RCA jack going all the way down into the USB port using the cable I used to monitor live video from the 600D or the T3i. So yeah, so one of the things this doesn't have is a little flip out screen, which is a hassle. So by plugging that in and plugging a little monitor into it, and I'll put some of the footage that I've shot from the EOS M. So yeah, I got a pretty good deal, because I've got the camera, the lens adapter, a little loop thing to attach to the back so you can use the screen as a viewfinder, and a 64 gig card plus the battery and charger for 100 quid. So I have ordered a couple more batteries and an adapter to plug in my EOS FM lenses for the T3i, because I've got 3 lenses for that, or 4 lenses if you count the macro adapter. Yeah, but the great thing about this is because it's like a cine lens almost, so the depth of view allows, when you see the footage from the EOS M, you'll see that I'm blurred out, the action camera with the digital recorder and the gimbal, that's all in focus, and if I move in, I'm in focus. There I am. So yeah, so that's a really small rig with a monitor, and I managed to kludge together the monitor. Obviously if I build something a bit better, it will be a bit more stable. But yeah, the EOS M doesn't allow you to monitor audio, but the best place to keep that little audio adapter on the side, you can see there, is connected to the cable that I'm going to use it on. So yeah, so I'll move in, I'll move out. So yeah, so that's what I kludged together today, and it involved finding a whole load of bits. Now all I got to do is sort out charging of batteries and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my short thing, and you'll see some of the footage and you'll see it. So if I adjust the depth of view and keep the focus in, now me and the camera in focus, and that's this shallow depth of field is one of those things that you can use in order to create a more cinematic look when you do filming. So a blurry background is sometimes good, especially for portrait photography or portrait viewing, or you're shooting dialogue and you want the audience to concentrate on the actor that's speaking. You can drop out the focus in the background so that whatever you're filming jumps into view. So yeah, so I do that again in reverse. Can I? And now I'm blurry and the background's blurry, but the camera's in focus. Well, it will be, because I'll be taking the image I've shot. So that's kind of cool. I'm pretty pleased with how that's set up, and that's literally stuff I found about the house. If you wanted to build one, like a little monitor that would attach to a Canon camera for super cheap, just so you can place the shot and stuff like that, you can, and I don't think it costs you more than about 10-15 quid if you ordered from China. Sort of super low cost, about 8 quid for the screen itself. Sometimes you get the batteries, sometimes you don't. Probably about a fiver for a spare battery for the screen, and yeah, it's just held on with a hair tie, and the broken off bit of a selfie stick, you see the selfie stick mount there, I just broke it off because it was bending out of shape, and attached it with a hair tie to the screen. Now over time you could make that a lot neater. You could just drill out a hole in the bottom of the screen and then hot mount or araldite the little screw thread in there, and these little ball top hot shoe adapters, they're only a couple of quid, and the camera cable itself is about 6 quid if you order it from the UK, about the same if you order it from China, to be honest. So yeah, put that back in focus. So yes, I shall try and edit this all together. So I'm going to turn off the camera now and continue my walk. See you in a tick. Yeah, so the weather yesterday was atrocious. Actually had hail and stuff like that, so I thought that that my delivery of my camera wasn't going to happen, and I did try and film something last night at work with the new camera, but it was very difficult because if I was in frame I couldn't see, because there was no flip up screen, I wouldn't be able to see myself or how I was framed in the shot, so I got some very badly framed stuff. So I will attempt to shoot the same sort of thing tonight. Maybe sort out a slightly different angle or get some different angles. Yeah, because I've been working out at work, because that's a good place to work out if you've got the time. If you've got like what executives and managers like to call white space, then and you can't do anything else in it, and you've done all your other jobs, you can work your arms at least. So yeah, so I've been doing that, and I wanted to combine it with Henry Rollins' written work, The Iron and the Soul. I thought that'd be fun to do. So yeah, so what I'll do is I'll put 2 versions out. I'll see if I can find audio of Mr. Rollins reading it. Well, I'll just put the 1 version out. I'll read out the article because I don't know what sort of copyright exists on it. So yeah, huge fan. Henry Rollins is cool. He's an old grumpy git like me, and he's a few years older than me, but he's accomplished a lot more. But yeah, so I'm really pleased with that little monitor setup. It is a kludge. It's a little bit of a hack using what I had lying around. I was just looking at it thinking, oh, that EOS M would be great if it had a flip-up screen, or I could see how to frame it if I'm in picture. And I think a nice little addition might be a teeny tiny shotgun microphone. I'm looking at the Boya MM1. That looks like it might be a a good vlogging setup for when I don't have the gimbal and stuff, and small enough that I can put it all into a couple of micro pelly cases, so it's always on hand, which would be nice. So I will be hacking the micro pelly cases, and the micro ones, because the bag I take to work is typically the Maxpedition Jumbo Versipack that I got off Kevin years ago, and it's still in rocking condition. So I take that to work with my work clothes in it and my special funny hat I have to wear, and along with something to eat and something to drink, and a few other bits and pieces like a notebook and stuff like that, a little first aid kit, a little sewing kit, all those gubbins. So if I can put the whole camera into the micro pelly case, along with a teeny tiny shotgun microphone and maybe a lavalier mic, that could be a good setup for opportunistic filming, because my total investment in the camera at this point is, because I've bought an adapter so I can use the other lenses, but I don't think I'd take the adapter with me. I think I'd take the little lens, is going to be £135. If I add in a Boya microphone, that would probably take it to 150 or just over with postage. So that would be a microphone, 3 batteries. I had the little cheap Joby Gorilla Pod, and I had all the things, but if you were going to do it again, it'd probably take it to about 165. So you'd have 3 batteries, you'd have the camera, you'd have the monitor, and that's if you were to buy it off eBay now, because just the camera body will cost you about 120 quid. So I got a really good deal in that I got the lens as well and the 64 gig card. So yeah, so it's helping. I've wanted something along the lines of a T3i, like an extra one, so I could do multiple shots for filming interviews and stuff like that. And I love having the gimbaled action camera for these wandering about shots, because it's really convenient. It's always in the bag. Hopefully the batteries are always charged, but it is a really convenient setup for just walking out into the woods and creating steady images. Unfortunately I can't mount the EOS M, nor would you want to the gimbal, but for tripod shooting and for stuff where I'm not wandering about, it could be a useful thing. So yeah, it might be viable for little shots around the place, B-roll, which B-roll is an industry term for footage that does not include dialogue. So when you have someone talking about something and then you see shots of the thing they're talking about and passers-by, and shots that indicate that time has passed, that's not principal photography, like the infill images, that's referred to as B-roll. And having a camera where you can shoot that and leave your main camera set up, which would be the T3i, along with my Tascam voice recorder, a digital recorder that sits under something as big as a proper full-size DSLR with all your big lenses and shit on it. And then you've got a little lightweight camera that you can put as much or as little in the way of accessories on as you want, and just shoot other images pretty much at the same time. But it also means that I would be able to sort of set up an interview, sort of like long shot, and then a close-up shot of the subject, and get those all lit, and also be able to monitor the audio and do all sorts of stuff like that. So it is cool. It's for a very small outlay comparatively, for a 1080p camera that also has access to all the Magic Lantern settings, and has a microphone input, so you can use it as a standalone, but it'll take up a tiny amount of space. It really is the size of a point and shoot camera with the capabilities of a full-on DSLR that you can use multiple lenses with. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So I would be able to, for instance, mount a zoom lens on it if I wanted one, or I can mount a 50mm Canon lens on it. I don't know why they decided to introduce an entirely new set of lenses. To put it into perspective, a 50mm lens for a standard DSLR new, and it's a very good lens, sold all over the world, is $100. Second hand they drop down to about 50 to 60 pounds, so $60 or $70, so they don't really drop a lot in price once they've been used. But for the EOS M, such a lens is going to cost you around $200, so double the price of a standard Canon lens, and it doesn't do anything different or new. It's just like a different thing. But the lens adapter would is only 20 quid to buy a non-Canon brand lens adapter. So you can adapt any of your existing lenses to the EOS M for 20 quid, which seemed to me like a bargain, and it'll keep all its autofocus, which I want to play with. So I will be bringing the EOS M out to the woods and shooting some footage with it and playing with the focus and the focal length and things like that, and maybe having a go with zoom lenses and things. So yeah, I might be bringing out a tripod and setting that up. So yes, and I think I probably will be ordering the Boya microphone, see when that turns up, because it's just a size thing. I don't really need in my day-to-day filming, or if I'm filming a big setup, and I have done that for various music videos. If I'm filming a big setup, then that would be it would be an extra camera. But for just like an opportunity camera, where I'm not putting the gimbal and the good action camera at risk, yeah, that would really, I don't really want to put that at risk, because I use it a lot. That's one of the reasons I don't really come out, and I haven't been doing outside videos when it's been really raining, because I don't want to damage it, because, you know, it was bought by you guys, Diddle Whiskey, Misanthropic Gods. You know, people contributed and people paid me Patreon money, which is what I bought this whole 250 quid rig with. So I don't want to endanger that. But for 100 quid and then another 50 quid for accessories for something that's much smaller and the equivalent of the T3i, and I'll do some proper reviews on it. But I thought you guys would like to see the camera and the Kludge monitor today. Maybe something different to look at and something different for me to blah on about. Cameras are quite interesting. Action cameras are loads easier. Don't have to do any setup with this. So yeah, it's yeah. So new things. It's always good to do new things. So I'm really glad I managed to find stuff. That was most of my morning, finding the various bits, the cable, the batteries, the battery charger, a cable for the Canon battery charger, and getting the Canon battery charged up. So there will be some footage from the EOS M, and what I'll do is I'll put EOS M footage in there, and it'll have a little label at the bottom so you can see what I was talking about. So yes, new things, new capabilities. So I think there probably needs to be an urban agoge or a culture media playlist, or a media TV program, because the culture's kind of, I want to be the organisation and various sub channels to deal with different stuff, so you can look into what you're interested in. And my media sub channel is going to be about, you know, editing and cheap cameras, so you've got an outside chance of getting them. I don't think I'll ever be the sort of person that spends thousands of dollars on a camera, because I haven't got thousands of dollars, which makes it, you know, if I can afford it, generally speaking, other people have got a better chance of affording it. So yes, so I think that wraps it up. Hopefully this has been an enjoyable video for you guys, and it's got some new bits in it, something out of the ordinary as we move towards stuff. It literally is down to the amount of time that I've got, which is not a lot at the moment. So yeah, so thanks for watching. Do take care. Where am I going? Who's coming with me? And never get the order mixed up.